Hello, I'm Susan Woods, your self-appointed Black Lives Matter fraud investigator. Thank you so much for your time. I am continuing with the series in which I am analyzing the Form 990 information return that the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation submitted to the IRS for the year 2020. This is episode number 5. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Form 990 schedules. The Form 990 schedules provide additional information to explain additional services a nonprofit organization provides, or anything unique about the nonprofit that occurred during the fiscal year in which they are reporting. So, in other words, when you submit a Form 990 information return, you may also have to submit schedules, which are like attachments to the Form 990 to explain anything that may have happened during the year, the fiscal year in which you are reporting. In this case, we're talking about fiscal year 2020 of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. So in their Form 990 information return, the accountant that created the return indicated which schedules were attached to the Form 990 information return to provide information for us, the public, to learn about the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation and what happened during that fiscal year. Before I go to the Form 990 information return, I want to go to irs.gov to show you the definitions of the different schedules. So just one moment as I pause my screen to get to that location. I want you to be able to see exactly what I'm referring to from the IRS perspective, which is the best perspective, of course. So just one moment as I pull that up for you, and I appreciate your patience. So now I am on the irs.gov website. And as you can see, I am showing schedules for Form 990. So to get to here, you will follow this path. You will go to home, the irs.gov website is the home page, and go to forms and instructions, and then click on schedules for Form 990. Now, as I scroll down, I'm going to highlight the different schedules. And again, schedules are merely attachments that provide additional information about what the about what the nonprofit did during the fiscal year. So Schedule A is one of the schedules. It says about Schedule A, Form 990 or 990EZ. Schedule A pertains to public charity status and public support. So information about Schedule A, Form 990 or Form 990EZ is public charity status and public support, including recent updates, related forms and instructions on how to file. Organizations that file the Form 990 or Form 990EZ use this schedule, Schedule A, to provide required information about public charity status and public support. So that's what Schedule A is about. So if the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation needed to provide information about the public charity status and public support, then they would use the Schedule A or include a Schedule A as an attachment. Let me go down to Schedule B. Now, Schedule B pertains to the schedule of contributors. And I'm not going to read each one of these schedules, but just give you an idea of where you can go to learn more about the schedules and how and why they are used. But the Schedule B says, the information here says, organizations use this schedule to provide information on contributions they reported on a Form 990 PF, which means private foundation, return of private foundation, Form 990, return of organization exempt from income tax, or Form 990EZ, short form return of organization exempt from income tax. So that's what a Schedule B would be used for. One more schedule that we'll talk about, that I read about, Schedule C. The Schedule C pertains to political campaign and lobbying activities. So information about Schedule C political campaign and lobbying activities, including recent updates, related forms, and instructions on how to file. So Section 501c3, Section 501c organizations, and Section 527 organizations use Schedule C to furnish additional information on political campaign activities or lobbying activities. So if members of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation team provided political campaign or were involved in political campaign activities or lobbying activities, they would need to include a Schedule C with the Form 990 to provide information about those things. So as I scroll down, you'll see Schedule D, Schedule E, Schedule F, Schedule G, Schedule H, Schedule I, Schedule J. Let's look at Schedule J, compensation information. Organizations that file Form 990 use this schedule to report compensation information for certain officers, directors, individual trustees, key employees, and highest compensated employees, and information on certain compensation practices. This should be a very interesting one to look at when I look at the Form 990, or when we look at the Form 990. So I'm going to jot that down. Schedule J, I need to search for that one because that one should outline everything the organization provided regarding compensation. So let's keep going. Schedule K, Schedule L, Schedule M, Schedule N, Schedule O. I'm going to pause for Schedule O because Schedule O is very popular for organizations to use to provide the IRS with narrative information required for responses to specific questions on the Form 990 and Form 990EZ. So if you need to provide narrative, like in-depth information about your organization, you will use a Schedule O. A lot of people use Schedule O's too because they may have changed their direction of the organization in the fiscal year or that passed, and they want to make the IRS aware. They may have changed board members, things like that they have to put a narrative or tell a story about. That's what a Schedule A is used, a Schedule O is used for, and it's very, very popular. So there's Schedule R. But like I said, I'm not going to read each one of these because all you have to do, once again, is go to irs.gov, click on Forms and Instructions, and click on Schedules for Form 990, and you can read this information for yourself. And not only for the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, of course, any nonprofit organization that you are investigating and you are reading the Form 990 and they say, or they indicate that they completed a schedule, then you can always come here to learn more about the schedule and why they would use that particular schedule. Now, I'm going to go back briefly because my interest has been piqued about the Schedule J. Now, once you click on, or once you read the information about these schedules, you can click on them to learn more about how you complete them. So looking at the Schedule J, the one about compensation information, it says here, I clicked on the link and it took me here, and it said, organizations that file Form 990 use this schedule to report, again, compensation information for certain officers, directors, individual trustees, key employees, and highest compensated employees, and information on certain compensation practices. Now that's very interesting, right? We've already been talking about how a member of the board of directors received over $2 million for his for-profit business. We've already talked about how Patrisse Cullors has been spending money on mansions for herself. So now in this particular Form 990, we should be able to see in writing the compensation for these organizations if the person, the accountant completing the Form 990 clicked the field that stated or indicated they used or included a Schedule J. So that's coming up, hold tight. So I'm going to click here for the Schedule J, the current revision. And this is for all forms, by the way. The IRS will provide you with the actual form, and it will also provide you with instructions on completing the form. So in this case, it's the Schedule J of the Form 990. So I'm going to click on it just to see what it looks like. So this is Let me increase the size of my screen. So this is the Schedule J. So again, if the accountant that completed the Form 990 information return for the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation used or indicated that they included the Schedule J, then it would be here, right? This is what it would look like. So compensation information for certain officers, directors, trustees, key employees, and highest compensated employees. And then always note on the right side, open to public inspection. Now, of course, the one that they created will have the year 2020, not the year 2021. But again, the IRS provides the current version. So if we look through, you can see part 1 has questions regarding compensation, so on and so forth. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just wanted you to see what it looks like. And then it includes the name and title, the base compensation, bonus and incentive compensation, other reportable compensation, retirement, deferred compensation, non-taxable benefits, total of columns, and then in the column F, the compensation. So this is going to be interesting to see in just a few moments when I go to the actual Form 990. This is going to be very interesting to see if the accountant clicked on the Schedule J field, because if they did, that means we, the public, should be able to see a full listing and accounting of compensation for all of the people who were on the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation's payroll in 2020. All right, so hold on for just one moment while I pause my screen, and then I'm going to go right over to the Form 990 information return. So just one moment. Thank you so much for your patience, as usual. So I have switched over to the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation Form 990 information return. And we are on part number 4, which is the checklist of required schedules. And this is for public inspection. Anybody should be able to read or have access to this document. So let's take a look at it. Number 1, is the organization described in section 501c3 or 4947A1 other than a private foundation? If yes, complete Schedule A. The answer is yes. So this organization, so we, the public, should be able to see a Schedule A for the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. And again, if you need to know what a Schedule A is, you can always go back to where I was in the IRS.gov website. You see how this is working now in the investigation? So let's keep going. Question 2. Organization required to complete Schedule B, Schedule of Contributors. And it says the answer is yes. So now we should be able to see in the attachments a Schedule B. Number 3, did the organization engage in direct or indirect political campaign activities on behalf of or in opposition to candidates for public office? If yes, complete Schedule C, Part 1. But here, the accountant clicked on or selected the answer no for number 3. So they're saying they did not engage in direct or indirect political campaign activities on behalf of or in opposition to candidates for public office. That's a red flag number 1, because they did. They had a banquet for Joe Biden. So they were supposed to complete Schedule C to explain that to us, the public. So that's a red flag for me, because number 3 should be yes, and they put no. Number 4, Section 501c3 organizations. Did the organization engage in lobbying activities or have a Section 501H election in effect during the tax year? If yes, complete Schedule C. So they said yes, so we should be able to see Schedule C, and they completed Schedule C, Part 2 of Schedule C. All right. 5, is the organization a Section 501c4, C5, or C6 organization that receives membership dues, assessments, or similar amounts as defined in Revenue Procedures 9819? If yes, complete Schedule C, Part 3. It stated no there. And by the way, there are over 25 501c3 types. My focus is always on 501c3, but there are up to 25 different types of 501cs. Number 6, did the organization maintain any donor advised funds or any similar funds or accounts for which donors have the right to provide advice on the distribution or investment of amounts in such funds or accounts? If yes, complete Schedule D, Part 1. They said no. A donor advised fund is, for example, if I gave the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation $200,000, as the donor, I would have the right to advise them on how to use my $200,000. I could stipulate I want this money to be used to build community gardens and to teach children agricultural or horticultural skills. That's what a donor advised fund is about. I can tell them how to use my money. But according to the accountant, they did not, this question does not pertain to them. So the answer is no. Number 7, did the organization receive or hold a conservation easement, including easements to preserve open space, the environment, historic land structures, or historic structures? Historic land areas or historic structures? And they said no there. 8, did the organization maintain collections of works of art, historical treasures, or similar assets? They answered no. 9, did the organization report an amount on Part X, line 21, for escrow or custodial account liability, serve as a custodian for amounts not listed in Part X or 10, or provide credit counseling, debt management, credit repair, debt negotiation services, so on? No. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. We're almost done. 10, number 10, did the organization directly or through related organization hold assets in donor restricted endowments or quasi endowments? The answer was no. 11, if the organization's answer to any of the following questions is yes, then complete Schedule D, parts 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 as applicable. If they answer yes to any of the following questions, complete Schedule D in those parts. So A, 11A, did the organization report an amount for land, buildings, and equipment in Part 10, line 10? If yes, complete Schedule D. They answered yes. So we should be looking for Schedule D, Part 6. Okay? That should be something that we, the public, should be able to see. More information about the land, buildings, and equipment that they reported an amount for. 11B, did the organization report an amount for investments, other securities? The answer was no. C, 11C, did the organization report an amount for investments, program related? No. D, did the organization report an amount for other assets in Part 10, line 15, that is 5% or more of its total assets reported in Part 10, line 16? See, we haven't even gotten to Part 10 yet. So we have to go with what they're saying here and talk about it more when we get to Part 10, but the answer is no. 11E, did the organization report an amount for other liabilities in Part 10? No. 11F, did the organization's separate or consolidated financial statements for the tax year include a footnote that addresses the organization's liability for uncertain tax positions under FIN 48 ASC 740? If yes, complete Schedule D, Part 10. So they answered yes there, so we should be looking for a Schedule D, Part 10. 12A, did the organization obtain separate, independent financial accounting? Let me read that again. 12A, Did the organization obtain separate, independent audited financial statements for the tax year? If yes, complete Schedule D, parts 11 and 12. These Roman numerals. Schedule D, parts 11 and 12. And they answered yes, so we should be able to see that. 12B, was the organization included in consolidated, independent, audited financial statements for the tax year? They said no. 13, is the organization a school? No. 14, did the organization maintain an office, employees, or assets outside of the United States? They said no. Well, that's a red flag. 14A is a red flag because I know they have an office in Canada that Patrisse Cullors' wife operates. They recently spent $6 million on a mansion to hold or to provide office space for their employees there in Canada. So that is a red flag that I documented. 14A, that answer should have been yes, because they do maintain an office and employees and agents outside of the United States in Canada. 14B, did the organization have aggregate revenues or expenses of more than $10,000 from grant writing? I don't need to read any more of that, right? Yes, 14B is yes. And so we need to find Schedule F, parts 1 and 4. Okay, let's keep going. I know this is not the most exciting information, but I promise to do an in-depth analysis of the Form 990 because I am one of the people who have been asking for information regarding where is the money. So this is their attempt to show us where the $90 million went in 2020 that they generated in the wake of the George Floyd murder. So I'm keeping my promise to analyze the Form 990 information return that the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation submitted for 2020, because I can't ask them to provide information and then they provide information and I don't analyze it. So I know it's not exciting. I know it's a lot of talking, but this is my analysis of the Form 990 information return, part 4. So number 15, did the organization report on part 9, column A, line 3, more than $5,000 of grants or other assistance to or for any foreign organization? If yes, complete Schedule F, parts 2 and 4. So they said yes, so we should be able to see that schedule. It's a lot of schedules they've attached to this Form 990. Number 16, did the organization report on part 9, column A, line 3, more than $5,000 of aggregate grants or other assistance to let me read that again. I'm getting tongue-tied. I apologize. Did the organization report on part 9, column A, line 3, more than $5,000 of aggregate grants of other assistance to or for foreign individuals, not organizations? And they said no. 17, did the organization report a total of more than $15,000 of expenses for professional fundraising services on part 9, column A, line 6 and 11E? They said yes, so we should see a Schedule G, part 1 in this Form 990. 18, did the organization report more than $15,000 total of fundraising event gross income and contributions on part 8, lines 1C and 8A? They said no. 19, did the organization report more than $15,000 of gross income from gaming activities on part 8, line 9A? They said no. 20A, did the organization operate one or more hospital facilities? That would be no. And so 20A is no, so 20B is also no, or they left that blank. So the last one, we're on the last one. Did the organization report more than $5,000 of grants or other assistance to any domestic organization or domestic government on part 9, column A, line 1. If yes, complete schedule 1. I'm sorry, schedule I, parts 1 and 2. And they said yes. So let's review. I didn't mean to do all that. Let's review what we've done. Okay. I apologize. This is live. There are no editors behind the screens, behind the scenes to make everything right. So thank you for your patience. So let's review. Let's see how many schedules we should be looking for. Okay. We should be looking for Schedule A, and I'm jotting this down. Schedule B. Schedule C, Part 2. Okay. Then I'm going to scroll down. We should be looking for Schedule D, Part 6. Then Schedule D, Part 10 and Part 11 and 12. So Schedule D, Part 10, 11, and 12. Then we should look for Schedule F, Parts 1 and 4. And Schedule F, Part 2 and 4. Then Schedule G, Part 1. All of these schedules are, again, attachments that we should see in this Form 990. And then finally, Schedule I, you can see they're going in alphabetical order, Schedule I, Parts 1 and 2. So these are the schedules that are supposed to provide additional information for us, the public, to review regarding what each schedule relates to. Remember, I went to irs.gov. Let me go back there. Just one moment as I pause my screen. I'm going to go back to irs.gov, where I was before, and I'm going to pull up those schedules and now identify the ones that we should be looking for when you review this information. So I'm going to go back to that. And thank you for your patience. Again, I know this video is long, and I know it's not the most exciting information to everyone. It's exciting to me, but I know it's not exciting to everyone. So and I appreciate you bearing with me, but I hope too that this information that I am providing, I'm hoping that it will help anyone else who's doing an investigation, because my investigation is in depth. You know, I know other people are pointing out the fraud of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation on their platforms, and I'm so grateful for that. But I am getting down to the factual information about, okay, what is really going on here? Again, the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation provided this document for the public to review in an attempt to be transparent about the money they generated in 2020. So I'm just holding them accountable. I'm just going through, because a lot of people might say, oh, okay, well, here we go. They showed us the information. They did the 990. So what else do you want? I want to analyze the 990 because I'm seeing a lot of red flags. So I'm back to the schedules for the Form 990 on irs.gov. So let's go through and see which ones we should be looking for. We're looking for A. We need a Schedule A. We need a Schedule B. We need a Schedule C. We need a Schedule D. And we need a schedule. We don't need E, but we do need F. We need G. We don't need H, but we do need I. And guess what else they did not include? They didn't include J. That's the one I wanted to see about compensation. Maybe I missed it. I'm going to go back, but I didn't see J. I didn't see K, L, M, N, O, R, R. So let's go back. I'm sure it has to be a J in there, because J talks about compensation. So let me pause. Maybe I didn't click for enough. Let me see. Let me go back to the Form 990. Because that's hard to believe. J, there's no J. There's no J. So let me go back. I'm back to the Form 990. Let's look. Let's look, y'all. So I'm scrolling down. I'm scrolling down. Maybe I didn't go far enough. 20, 21. Okay, let me keep going. Oh, okay. Okay. My fault. My fault. I didn't go far enough down. I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense at all. So we're going to continue. We're going to continue. Okay. So it's continued. That's my fault. Please forgive me, because I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense not to have a J to talk about compensation. I didn't keep going. So here we are, continued. Okay. All right. So let's keep it moving. 22. I wasn't finished. My bad. 22. Did the organization report more than $5,000 of grants or other assistance to or for domestic individuals on Part 9, Column A, Line 2? They said no. Number 23. I'm so glad I went back to the IRS website, because I wouldn't have picked that up. And I know that didn't make sense. Did the organization answer yes to Part 7, Section A, Line 3, 4, or 5 about compensation of the organization's current and former officers, directors, trustees, key employees, and highest compensated employees? If yes, complete Schedule J. Yes, there we go. I feel better now. I'm like, wait a minute. I know they're going to talk about compensation, all of that money they paid people. Okay, I was wrong. So number 24A, did the organization have a tax-exempt bond issue with an outstanding principal amount of more than $100,000 as of the last day of the year? No. 24B, C, and D, they left blank because 24A, the answer was no. So let's go down to 25A. 25A, Section 501c3, 501c4, and 501c29 organizations. That's for these organizations. Did the organization engage in an excess benefit transaction with a disqualified person during the year? If yes, complete Schedule L, Part 1. And they said yes. So we're looking for a Schedule L. 25B, is the organization aware that it engaged in an excess benefit transaction with a disqualified person in a prior year, and that the transaction has not been reported on any of the organization's prior forms 990 or 990AZ? They said no. 26, did the organization report any amount on Part 10, Line 5 or 22 for receivables from or payables to any current or former officer, director, trustee, key employee, creator or founder, substantial contributor, or 35% controlled entity or family member of any of these persons? If yes, complete Schedule L, Part 2. So they said yes. So we are looking for a Schedule L, Part 2. Okay. 27. Did the organization provide a grant or other assistance to any current or former officer, director, trustee, key employee, creator, founder, so on and so forth? Again, did the organization provide a grant or other assistance to any current or former officer, director, trustee, key employee, and so on and so forth? They said no. That's a red flag, because I know that that's not true. Patrisse Cullors gave assistance, and I'm assuming financial assistance is what they were referencing here, to the father of her son, over $800,000 to the father of her son for graphical design services, which nobody can find out why, because he doesn't have a graphical design business. And I'm going to talk about that in another video. She also gave assistance to her brother. She paid him, compensated him for security services, even though he doesn't have any background in providing security services. And I'm going to talk about that in a separate. So that's a red flag right there. Was the 28, was the organization a party to a business transaction with one of the following parties? See Schedule L, Part 4, instructions for applicable filing thresholds, conditions, and exceptions. They said no to that. So 28B, I'm sorry. Let me start again. I apologize. This is a lot. Maybe I should have broken this episode into 2 episodes. 28. Was the organization a party to a business transaction with one of the following parties? See Schedule L, Part 4, instructions for applicable filing thresholds, conditions, and exceptions. So here are the parties. The party in A is a current or former officer, director, trustee, key employee, creator, or founder or substantial contributor. They said no there. The next party, a family member of any individual described in line 28A. If yes, complete Schedule L, Part 4. So they said yes on that one. So we should be looking for Schedule L, Part 4. C, a 35% controlled entity of one or more individuals and or organizations described in lines 28A or 28B. They said yes. So we're looking for Schedule L again, Part 4. 29, did the organization receive more than $25,000 in non-cash contributions? They said no. 30, did the organization receive contributions of art, historical treasures, or other similar assets, or qualified conservation contributions? They said no. 31, did the organization liquidate, terminate, or dissolve and cease operations? They said no. 32, did the organization sell, exchange, dispose of, or transfer more than 25% of its net assets? They said no. 33, did the organization own 100% of an entity disregarded as separate from the organization under regulations, sections, so on and so forth? If yes, complete Schedule R, Part 1. So we should be looking for Schedule R, Part 1. 34, was the organization related to any tax exempt or taxable entity? No. 35A, did the organization have a controlled entity with the meaning of Section 512B13? They said no. 35B is blank. 36, Section 501c3 organizations. Did the organization make any transfers to an exempt, non-charitable related organization? If yes, complete Schedule R, Part 5, Line 2. Again, did the organization make any transfers to an exempt, non-charitable or related organization? That's a red flag when they said no to that, because in my video series regarding the $21 million that Patrisse Cullors allocated among 30 LGBTQIA organizations, several of those organizations did not have tax exempt status, but she still gave them money. So I think the answer should be yes to that. So that's a red flag for me. I think they should have completed a Schedule R, Part 5 on line 2. 37, did the organization conduct more than 5% of its activities through an entity that is not a related organization, and that is treated as a partnership for federal income tax purposes? They said no. And 38, did the organization complete Schedule O and provide explanations on Schedule O for parts 6, lines 11B and 19? And they said yes. So we should be looking for a Schedule O. And it says, note, all Form 990 filers are required to complete Schedule O. So those are the schedules. And I have completed this section this time. I completed half and thought I was done. But Schedule 4 is a checklist of required schedules. There are a total of 38 questions underneath that section. And I've identified all of the schedules that this Form 990 information return should include or should have for the public to review. I've identified 4 red flags that I would like to review quickly. The first red flag was number 3. Did the organization engage in direct or indirect political campaign activities on behalf of or in opposition to candidates for public office? That should be, the answer should be yes there. So that's a red flag. I'm wondering why they indicated no there, because it should be yes. So to me, that's a red flag. So I have to put a little red flag donation note there. Okay, the next red flag, I have 4 red flags. The next red flag was down to 14. 14A, did the organization maintain an office, employees, or agents outside of the United States? Yes, they did in Canada. So that's a red flag. That's incorrect. What am I going to do with these red flags? You may be wondering. What I'm going to do is I'm going to compile the red flags from this Form 990, and I'm going to share the red flags with the IRS and with the FBI. So I'm still working on that master report for the FBI and for the IRS. And I'm going to also continue to share it on my YouTube channel. Okay. So the next red flag that I identified was on 27, question 27. And it said, did the organization provide a grant or other assistance to any current or former officer, director, trustee, employee, creator or founder, contributor, employee, so on and so forth? That should be yes, because of course they've given financial assistance to almost everybody that was in the clique with Patrisse Cullors. All of her friends got money, her brother got money, her boyfriend, former boyfriend got money, so they all got money. Several people got money, so that should have been yes. And then finally, the last red flag was for 36. Did the organization make any transfers to an exempt, non-charitable related organization? That should have been yes, because they gave money to 30 LGBTQIA organizations, totaling $21 million. So everybody, thank you for your patience. I know this was extremely long. I don't like to do extremely long videos, but I try to keep the different parts in one video. I didn't want to break it up, but in hindsight, maybe I should have broken this one up into 2 parts. But anyway, here you are. Here's the information for you to use and to share, if you will. Again, I'm Susan Woods. I am your self-appointed Black Lives Matter fraud investigator. This has preoccupied my life for 2 years now. The first video that I uploaded was on June the 6th, 2020. The first video that I uploaded to my YouTube channel to express my concerns about the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation and its chapters at that time was on June the 6th, 2020. So I've been doing this for 2 solid years. And I'm glad that the word is finally getting out. I'm glad that people are raising their hands, but we have to keep it going, because if we don't, then it's just going to go away and no one is ever going to be held accountable for what Patrisse Cullors and her cohorts did to the Black community. And that is betrayed the Black community in a way that I've never seen in my life, that I've never even read about. This betrayal from Black people on the Black community in terms of not allowing us to benefit from the generosity of people across the world who wanted to do something in the wake of the George Floyd murder. And no one has benefited that I can see except Patrisse Cullors and her friends and family. So let's keep this momentum going. Help me spread the word. And thank you for your time and your support. Have a great day.